I don't know why it's not focusing anymore. That was me goofing around. I don't know why it doesn't focus anymore. May have to get a new camera. Come on, wake up. There we go. See? I knew it could eventually adjust itself. That's me right there. Alright, so I knew. Okay, so I feel like this is going to be a short one tonight. I'm not feeling up to it right now. My digestive system has decided to collapse. It's what happens when you've got inflammatory bowel disease. So I'm tired. I'm pretty wiped out. Been tired most of the week anyway, but I'm especially tired now. Everything I've eaten today has come right back out. I don't know if it's food poisoning or if it's just my system collapsing. But I will try to be on base. I am playing around with some of my, I guess, super-powered character stories. I'm starting to wonder if I could compile them all into a collection of short stories, but I'll think about it. I am acutely aware of the stories that I'm writing now have Mary Sue style characters that would have to get nerfed a bit. But for right now, just the fun of writing those characters is what makes the writing enjoyable. I have been playing around with some design elements for my universe build, I guess is what I'd call it. I'm still debating some of the back and forth about some of the design elements I want to do, but like I'm pretty sure I want to make the source material for the books that I want to do for it hexagonal books that you can arrange in a hexagonal grid. I don't know that you can call it a grid, but and I want the cover images to be able to tile. That's more an appropriate word, to tile in such a way that each cover looks like a standalone cover, but when tiled together form a larger picture. I am so tired right now, and I am not feeling well. I don't have it in me for a long one tonight. Let's see how long we can make it, though. So yeah, I've been playing around with some of the design elements of that, and writing my superhero. I wouldn't call them superhero. People with abilities stories. Like I said, characters tend to be a little Mary Sue right now. They're a little too over the top in ability. It makes it sort of feel cheesy and campy that I'm writing it the way I'm writing it. But I mean, it's part of the reason I'm doing it that way is just because I don't have to worry about it being good or bad. It just is what it is. I write the story out. I can fix it later. And that's the important thing to try to remember doing a National Novel Writing Month. Look, I did some contacting some people about doing the monthly challenges that I want to work on. So I got some feedback from some people, mainly in the direction of that sounds like an awful lot. The list, I posted up the kind of invitation and encouragement for people to make 2021 a year of doing creative challenges. I posted up the January, February, March, all the way through to December projects that I was hoping to do. And almost universally, the response was, I'm tired just looking at it. So, yes, I guess it makes sense that it looks a little overloading when I dump it all out like that. So I think from this point on, I'm going to focus it more on I think start of December, I'm going to start referring to maybe the first two, like January Janimation and February Alphabet Project, just a lead up into getting into doing the projects, but not cloud it with the fact that there are 10 more months of projects. And I did see earlier today that a YouTuber that I watch sometimes, I used to watch a lot more of them, but I've tapered off as I've gotten too busy to do a lot of recreational viewing. But the YouTuber that I used to watch was Jazza, Australian guy who does some art-based videos. And he just did one within the last 48, like Jazza, it used to be Jazza Draws or Drawing with Jazza or something like that. He did a video in the last 24 hours, 48 hours, that was doing animations using Microsoft PowerPoint, I think it was. And he used Photoshop for his frame images, and then built the presentation using PowerPoint. He said he used to do something similar using MS Paint, which you could also do. So I think what I want to do in the lead up to January is do a couple of demonstration of very simple ways to do mildly easy animations. So stop motions and computer-based animation, or even flip book style animations. And just see if I can, I'm pretty sure I could use some editing, video editing software, and just import still images, trim the frame size to 1 or 2 frames, and then stack them as layers. So basically do a cutout, like a green screen cutout of like a moving mouth and blinking eyes and waving arms, and then basically just compile them over each other into a video of a character animated in some way. There's a part of me that wants to maybe even get multiple colors of Play-Doh from the dollar store, sculpt patterns on a green screen material, and then remove the background, and then stack the images of the moving claymation or Play-Doh character pieces. Yeah, it's his animation of the stick figure fight is what he did, and he added sound effects and whatnot. But I mean, there are a lot of simple ways you can do animation, and I think if I set some of that up in December as a lead-in to the fact that the goal for January is to do a 5-minute animated short in the course of the month, I don't think that's asking too much. Yeah, the PowerPoint. He used PowerPoint to animate it. I don't know if it's his latest video, but I have thought about some of the animation techniques being, if I can get I'm trying to think of the other guy who, I think it's Craftsman. Craftsman Show, Steady Crafting, Steady Crafting. No, that's okay. Steady Crafting. Let's try that. Steady Crafting. He's got a very southern. He's got a very southern accent or way of speaking. But he does these videos of projects that he works on, and they're very fun to watch as projects. The Craftsman Steady Crafting. Crafsman. The Craftsman Steady Crafting. So he does these videos, and he did one a while ago. I can't remember. Oh, here it is. How I animate without taking a year or 10. And so he did one where he demonstrates a methodology for, I think he used some lip syncing for his animation, but he really just built a rectangular style character with eyes and mouth as separate components that he can paste over top and change them from frame to frame. So I'm going to see. This is the one I remember it. Yeah, so I'm going to see if I can pull up this, see if it'll pull up and post in the comments. Yeah. Well, I don't know what his racial heritage is. His hands are rubber clad at all times, and he never seems to show his face. But I think this is the one he posted. I think that's the one he posted where he did the animation. That should follow through on the link there. And that one was kind of interesting to see. I think that one's more involved, and he went for a very distinctive jittery style. I don't need that to be the case, but if you take some of the same ideas he has there, and instead of computer drawing or hand drawing or line art drawing a figure, and then the eyes and the mouth as separate entities that you relocate in editing over the surface of the still figure. You could do that with, do I have anything currently around me? Probably not. I don't have any toys on my person. I don't think I do anyway. I did at one point have a toy around here somewhere. Anyway, I was kind of saying, like, if you had a figure that you crafted out of paper mache and painted with acrylic paints, and you just made the body with none of the facial features, and then off to the side you made a whole set of simple facial features that you can then green screen and out the background and then relocate in editing software over the physical object, you could make a 3D animation of a physical object expressing things. And so I'm like, there's a part of me is like, I wonder if I could do that. You know, could I, like I said, use Play-Doh, sculpt out a basic body shape, let it set up enough that I can, or I don't even have to let it set up. If I'm just using the basic body shape, take a picture of that and have a stationary body that doesn't move, and have the arms move and the eyes blink and the mouth move, and basically just do that, or a few simple movements. I could probably do some fun little animated conversations. And you stack them in. I could probably use what's that? HitFilm Express is the one I use for some of my video editing in the past. And I'm pretty sure I could do, I believe they do it. 2 frames is like a nice animation style, because it has that nice slow handmade feel to it. They did it in the new Spider-Verse movie, I think, too. The Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. They set it as certain sections of it as multiple frames being the exact same, so it gives it that kind of animated feel. Because they were doing it as 3D animation. They could have run it as fast or as many frames a second as they wanted to, but their frames per second were specifically chosen to give that cartoony feel, and that was important to express when doing a comic book theme. But yeah, so using some of those ideas in non-hand drawn or things like that type of animation, I think could be worth exploring further. And you can use some of the same techniques if you wanted to for doing computer animation using the old style of, 8-bit video game artwork. So you can make an 8-bit sprite, and the sprites usually just had the standing still, walking, jumping, and those were the only movements you needed. And you had the character from the left, the right, the front, and the back in each of those actions. So if you basically just built an inventory of sprites like that, you could animate those that way. So, I mean, I feel like if I start December at Vlogsmas discussing some of those options, I think I could probably end up decreasing that sort of feeling of like, that's a lot to take in for next year's plans. Like the idea of doing 12 months of month-long challenges seems to overload a lot of people. But if I just set you up in December and say, like, here's a couple of ideas, I might even see in December if I could build a simple library of basic figure shapes that people could use to make animations. And so I would put them up somewhere, free download, take those images and edit them together to make an animation. I think that would be worth doing. So that's sort of my plan for December on how to maybe streamline that process a little more. Make it I mean, I might be able to do some out of traditional use modes with the map maker. Yeah, I could probably do some interesting. And I've been looking at the possibility of pulling out map maker and see if there are ways I can. Because one of the things I've been doing for my design elements for my setting was I've highly structured the idea of the setting around the number 6. So hexagons and hexagonal grids or tiling are a sort of a big factor for a lot of what I do. I'm not sure if the software can do a hexagonal grid. If it can, that's great. If it can't, I can see if I can build a hex grid template as a backdrop to what I do. Because one of the things I'd like to do is experiment. Because what I really built it around isn't so much a hexagon as it's called the flower of life, or circle tiling. There's a pattern in geometry where you can take a circle, and if you take 6 circles around that circle so that each new circle half overlaps the first one. So you have basically 3 circles that overlap so that these 2 circles touch edges, and then there's a circle through the middle of both of them. And if you do that so that you rotate it so that the top circle intersects with the next one around that center circle in the same way that it interacts with that center circle, once you do that, the tiling has a pattern that sets up what's usually called the flower of life in mysticism and whatnot. And that pattern is basically you can infinitely grid outwards. And at any point in that grid, it's like a fractal. At any point in that grid, you can pick a circle and the whole pattern starts centered around that circle and spreads in the same way. If you pick any other circle, they all do the same thing. So that circle grid that's in the flower of life happens to mesh with a lot of the philosophy and ideas that I built into my setting. And so this flower of life grid is if you lay it out right, each circle is part of and each circle could be done as a hexagon, and when you do that, it turns into a traditional hexagonal grid pattern. And if you do what they usually do in that flower of life pattern, where the circles overlap, I wish I could pop it up on the green screen behind me, but we know that tends to crash the system. But the flower of life grid, when the circles overlap, you get 2 types of shapes. You get these sort of curved in edges, triangles that form, and then you get these lentil shapes, the side view, sort of like a M&M from the side. And when you build these around each other, they form the circles that form the grid. But if you take the sideways M&M lentil shapes and you look at them, they form a 6-pointed star. And then there's additional lentils around the edges that close the top of those asterisk signs. And those form a hexagon if you just draw a straight line through each one of those lentil shapes. And so it's like, yeah, it essentially forms a hexagonal grid if you do that right. If the map maker has the hex grid capability, I can't remember if that's one of the base capabilities or something you might have to buy additional software for. Not worried about it. I'll be able to figure it out. But using that base grid pattern to set up the map, part of the appeal for me to building maps in that is it gives you a live edge. So if you're using like a square grid or even like a standard hex grid, what you'll get is these sharp angular edges to everything that you're doing, or boxes that you build things out of, and it gives you a graininess to the picture. But with the curved edges of the flower of life pattern, where this edge of a lentil or this edge of the lentil are the part you're using before you move off into this curved edge on the triangle followed by another lentil edge, you're getting a more organically bent and twisty shape, all within using the framework of a hex grid. And so I've been kind of curious to see, because I mean, the hard part for me is I like the idea. I do not currently have I could probably print out a hex grid template for backlighting on a table and drawing over top of, but trying to draw some of the designs that I've been working on using that hex pattern has turned out to be pretty hard. I see if I can pull up. It's very sloppy, but see if it can work. So this is basically what the hex gridding would look like. This is a rough attempt at trying to hand draw the overlapping circles. It doesn't look right. I can't get it to look right. But what I was looking to do was, if I did a book cover like this and have the books tile like this. So each book is a hexagon, but the cover of each book also has the tiling of the hexagons. And then stack them in such a way that as they tile together, you have a book in the center that overlaps partly with the images on all the other book covers. And it's like trying to play. Yeah, thanks for losing my folks. It took me forever to get it started. Come on, work with me. Stupid camera. There we go. So, like, you can see in my drawing that it's very sloppy for what it is. And trying to get it to look right is hard. But if I can pull up the map software and it works, that would be probably the better way to do some of that. Even if it's just to pull in Adobe, or I could probably GIMP or Inkscape up another hex pattern or flower of life pattern that I can use as the base template. So what you saw on the piece of paper there was based off of using the hexagons as tiling, just to make sure it would work hexagonally. But the hexagon is the byproduct of the flower of life pattern. So in all reality, what I'd like to do, the book covers may be hexagonal, but the pattern on the covers of the book covers, I want to do in that flower of life tiling pattern. And if I can get a flower of life tiling pattern into the map builder, I'll play with that. If I can't get it to work for me that way, I might be able to get the hex pattern to work. I need to look to see what the capabilities of it were again. But even if it can only do square tiling, which I don't think is, well, it might be. Even if it only does square tiling, I'm sure I can use it for some of my improvised works. I have thought about using it to make like alphabetic engravings for images. And not quite a font, but something similar to a font that I could build in the map maker, I imagine. And definitely potentially use it for making crests and other images. Because, I mean, it is just an image editor when you break it down. It just so happens that the inclination is to imagine it as maps. But a map is really just an image that shows an object from a distance, from a sort of overhead perspective. If I wanted to, I think I might be able to make it even usable for making the base maps for game design. So I might be able to import, create maps and import those map elements into what was the RPG Maker. So I'd be curious, because RPG Maker has its standard artwork style that everybody's familiar with. But if I custom make some artwork styles for the map maker and then use the maps that I make in the map maker as the pieces for building the maps in RPG Maker, I could get a very unique and custom style, I think. All right, so I think that's about it for where I am at tonight. I know I didn't talk much about the writing projects, but that's sort of, I'm less enchanted with it right now because I'm in the middle of doing stuff with it. Usually I feel better when I'm done the project, and I feel better months afterwards when I go back and review what I was doing. But when I'm in the middle of writing it, I have to shut up that editor. I can't look at what I'm writing because it always looks bad. Even things that I later go back and go, oh, that was such a good idea. I really liked that one. I don't feel that way when I'm in the middle of writing. It's something I might have to work on, but in the meantime, I'm just aware enough of it to not provoke it. Alrighty, so that's that for tonight. I did all right. I made about half an hour in. My system didn't freak out on me. I didn't have to run for the bathroom, so there's that. So I appreciate you sticking with me, and it was nice chatting with you tonight. Hope you're doing okay yourself. And I will. Today is Tuesday. I feel like I've forgotten to do something, but I can't remember what it was. So I think next day is Thursday. And I will catch you on Thursday. How many days we got left? Thursday, Sunday. Yeah, don't have a lot of days left, do we? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday are the last days of the month. I'm not ready for December, but I'm also not ready to still be in November. I can't decide whether or not I'm done with the month or done with the year or not ready to start 2020. But we are headed into 2021, so let's get ready for some of that. I will catch you on Thursday, hopefully with something worth talking about and feeling better than I am today. So thanks for joining me. Take care and have a good night. I should probably... Yep. Sleep. That's the weirdest thing. I have slept hours more than usual over the last week. I've had nights of like 9 hours, 10 hours of sleep, but I wake up tired. I don't know what it is going on right now, but hopefully it solves itself because I got things I need to do. All right. Take care. Good night.